Welcome to the Horror Chronicles, a captivating journey into extraordinary tales that transcend the boundaries of fear. In this unique channel, we explore captivating narratives filled with mystery, adventure, and intrigue. From lost cities to ancient enigmas, we unravel the secrets that have fascinated humanity for centuries. Prepare to be enthralled by stories that ignite your imagination, without the horror elements typically associated with the genre. Join us as we embark on an exploration of the unexplained, where legends come to life and curiosity knows no bounds. To stay updated on all the latest realistic and treasure hunter stories, please subscribe to my channel and check out the previous stories if you haven't already. By subscribing, you will receive notifications for future updates, so please hit the subscribe button, and if you enjoy this video, I kindly ask you to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Have you ever heard of a hidden city? That is, it exists, but you cannot see it. This amazing story takes place in a city at whose walls many died, and inside it are secrets that no one has revealed, and at its outskirts are jinn, whose existence is related to the prophet of God, Solomon. The legend of this strange city is like fairy tales, but the strangest thing is that it was mentioned in reliable books from the Umayyad Caliphate. It is the legendary city of copper. Atlantis, Izgard, Valhalla, Agartha, and Dorado cities. I am confident that you have heard of some of them, if not all of them, and the world was divided between a believer in their existence and a believer that they are a fantasy. The mystery of the existence of these cities or not is the secret behind their fame and everyone's eagerness to discovering the truth about these cities, and most importantly, discovering their wealth and treasures. And perhaps most of you know some facts about these cities that I mentioned, but what I am about to share with you in this video is about a famous city, and its details are vague in every sense of the word. And why is it more mysterious than other? Because it is an enchanted city, and the fate of everyone who tried to peek behind its wall was to disappear without any other details. Total disappearance. So did those who were sorcerers in this city die, or do they live in unparalleled bliss? The beginning is with the oldest narration about the city of copper, which was mentioned by Ibn al-Faqih al-Hamdani in his Book of Countries, so that he shed light on this city, which he considered one of the wonders of Andalusia, and described it as a city that the seers had not seen like it, and the hearers had not heard of its like, according to the narration. Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan, who was the fifth of the Umayyad Caliphs, was informed of the city of copper one day, and that there are treasures in it that no human has ever seen. He wrote to Musa ibn Nasr, an Arab military commander in the era of the Umayyad state, ordering him to march to it and discover its truth and the truth of its treasures. Set out to find out the truth about this city. Musa bin Nasr equipped 1,000 knights quickly and recommended taking provisions and water sufficient for months. Then he set out to find out the truth about this city. So he walked, according to the narration, for 43 days. And the strangest thing is that in other narrations it is said that he walked for 2 full years, so is it inferred by Ibn Nasr on Copper City. Yes, he reached it. But unfortunately, he failed to enter it despite his many attempts. According to the letter that Ibn Nasr sent to the Caliph, Abd al-Malik bin Marwan, they were able to see the luster of the city several days before they reached it. Mankind, after their arrival at the walls of the city, they prayed the evening prayer and spent the night, which he described as the most terrifying, without mentioning any other details, and when they became grown up to imitate the morning. After that, he sent Ibn Nasr horsemen to go around the city wall to see if there was a door to enter it through, so he was absent for 2 days absolutely, and in another narration that he was absent for 6 days, and returned on the 7th day. So that the shocking result was that this huge city has no door, So he ordered Ibn Nazir to collect the luggage of all the knights and stack them on top of each other so that one of them would climb up and see what is behind its wall, but their luggage was not enough. So he decided to make several ladders and connect them with ropes. And here, the surprises began. Ibn Nazir called out to his army, saying, "Whoever knows the news of the city has 10,000 coins." So a man from the army advanced and climbed the ladder, and you will not believe what happened. When he reached the top of the wall, the man laughed and fell behind the city wall, and when Ibn al-Nuzayr called him to ask him what he thought, he never answered him. So he told his men again that whoever climbs the stairs will also get a cash prize. So another man advanced and climbed the ladder, but his fate was the same as the previous one. So Ibn Nazir tried again, but the result was the same. After that, the men refused to climb, and Ibn Nazir and his soldiers turned back. This is the oldest narration about the city of copper, but there are other narrations that dealt with dubious myths and more details about the journey of Ibn Nuzayr. According to what was stated in the words of Abu Hamid al-Andalusi al-Gharnati and his book The Masterpiece of the Heart and Elite of Admiration. Al-Gharnati says, after several attempts, Ibn Nazir, who failed to enter the city of copper, tried to dig under its wall, but he collided with the copper base until he reached the groundwater, which thwarted his attempts to dig a trench under the wall. So he made another attempt, which is to climb the wall as we mentioned previously, and Al-Gharnati adds a frightening dimension to the story. After he descended, the rider to the center of the city heard huge voices and terrifying screams that lasted for 3 days and nights. According to this narration, not only 3 men climbed the city wall, but there was a 4th man, but this time, his companions tied a rope around his waist so that he would not fall into the city like those who preceded him. Did he succeed in telling Ibn al-Nazir about what he saw? No. His fate was very tragic. After he reached the edge of the wall, he laughed and descended into the city. When the soldiers dragged him, his body split into 2 halves. The lower part, his companions pulled him, his torso and his head, and they fell behind the wall, which led to the loudness of terrifying sounds again. According to other accounts, after Ibn Nuzayr's failed attempts to enter the city, he and his soldiers went to a nearby lake, which they had heard was flooding huge treasures, and at the lake a new adventure began, as when they reached it, they found a man standing on the water. And when asked about his identity, he told them that he was a man. One of the jinn was imprisoned by the Prophet Solomon in this lake. Then the man soon disappeared. So what did they find in the lake? The men of Ibn Nazir dived into the lake and found copper flasks sealed with lead. When they opened it, a jinn came out of it, a horse with a spear in his hands, and flew in the air, saying, "O Prophet of God, I will not return," and this matter was repeated 3 times. Then, Ibn Nazir decided to throw the flasks in the lake again, because he does not want to release a group of jinns who had been imprisoned by Solomon. There is no doctrine behind me, so return. This is not all. According to another narration that says that Ibn Nazir, before his arrival to the lake, stopped at a statue of a man with the copper plate written on it, "There is no sect behind me. So go back and do not enter this land, or you will perish." And here is the strangeness in the story, because the land was extremely beautiful, many trees and abundant water, so how is it possible that those who trample it perish? But as it is said, not everything that glitters is gold. A group of Ibn Nuzayr soldiers entered the land, and what happened to them was very terrifying. They did not trample this land, but they stopped at its borders, specifically at the statue of the man carrying a plate of copper, and they did not transgress it. The most important question: where is the city of copper located? In fact, we do not know a specific location for the city. It is said that it may be in Morocco. What makes it impossible to verify the validity of these assumptions is that no trace of its ruins was found that might indicate its location. All we know about it is what was written in the old books, where it was said to have been built near the Atlantic Ocean. This takes us to another question: who built the city of copper? There are two narrations related to this point. The first narration: King Dul-Quraynin built the city of copper in Morocco, and deposited his treasures and talismans therein, that is its magic, so that no one could enter it and obtain his treasures. As for the second narration, it says that the jinn are the sons of the city of copper, and this is due to the desire of the prophet, Solomon. Regardless of where the city is located and who built it, I now have a detail that will shock you. Most of the narrations circulating about the city of copper say that Ibn al-Nazir did not enter the city, with a slight difference in its details. But what I will tell you now is completely different, as there is another narration that says that Ibn Nazir really succeeded in entering the city, so he was completely amazed. After his arrival and his soldiers to the walls of the city, they found 28 doors, but they were unable to open one of them. Several men tried to climb the wall until their fate was as we mentioned earlier. Some of them were laughing, and some of them were clapping, as if they were seeing something from outside this world. After several attempts, a man succeeded in resisting what he saw behind the wall, and sat on its edge, still, not uttering a word, for about an hour. After he regained consciousness, he spoke to Ibn Nazir from above, promising him that he would open one of these doors. You may ask, what did the man see behind the wall? He saw 10 attractive women, and each one seduced him. According to the narration, he saw 10 charming women, and each one of them seduced him in order to come down to the city. But despite his feeling that he was deprived of his will, he resisted the women and recited the names of God, which led to their complete disappearance. And the man walked on the edge of the wall until he reached a watchtower, and was found inside a copper statue of a knight on his horse, written on it, "If you want to open the door of the city of copper, rub my hand." So he rubbed his hands and opened one of the doors. There are many corpses in the streets of the city, but their owners were as if they were asleep, not dead. So, Ibn Nazir and his army walked around the city until they found a huge palace that was unparalleled in terms of architecture, grandeur, and luxury. They entered the palace, and did not believe what their eyes fell on. The palace was full of jewels and treasures. And Ibn Nazir wandered around the palace, and the soldiers took whatever treasures they desired for themselves, until they reached a large room in which they found the second surprise. Very beautiful woman, dressed in silk clothes, lying on a bed inside the room, and next to her 2 statues holding 2 copper swords. For a moment, the first thought that the lady was alive, as her eyes were open, but in fact, her eyes were taken out of their place, and then were returned to her face again. Above the bed, there was a sign on which it was written, "Take whatever jewelry you want, but do not take the jewelry I wear. Take whatever jewelry you want, except for what I'm wearing." On the head of the lady was one of the most magnificent crowns, so one of the soldiers tried to take it and the other jewelry she wore, ignoring the warning written on the board. At that moment, the 2 statues next to her moved and struck his neck, then returned to their previous position. After that, Ibn Nazir went out with his soldiers and walked towards a tall mountain near the city with many caves. And after their arrival to the mountain, they discovered that they are not alone, as the caves are inhabited by people with dark brown skin. According to the narration, their king descended and spoke with Ibn Nazir in order to inquire about the reason for their presence in this region. So Ibn Nazir was shocked by what he knew about these people, especially that they worship God. He asked, how could this happen when the prophet did not set foot in this region? So the king revealed the matter to him, saying to him, that near the mountain there is a lake, from which a great light emerges from time to time, and teaches them how to worship God, and thus they were guided to faith. After they exchanged the parties to the conversation, the king learned that they wanted to take a number of copper traces found in the lake to take them to the Caliph, Abdul Malik bin Marwan. So the king ordered some of his men to dive and extract some of those relics, in which it is said that the Prophet Solomon imprisoned the jinn. If you got here, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, activate the notifications button, like, comment and share, and thank you for watching video.